Welcome to the Music Ed Matters podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Emily Williams Birch, and this podcast, it exists for you. Whether you're a music lover, an educator, a choir member, each week we bring guests to the show to help explore what matters in music. I'm so glad that you're here. Welcome to the show. Hello, and welcome to the Music Ed Matters podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Emily Williams Birch, and this is an Advocacy and Collaboration Curated episode featuring one of our newest committee members, Dr. Tim Westerhaus. In this really quick motivational moment about advocacy, Dr. Westerhaus provides ideas and so much more to help us find ways to advocate, not just for music ed, which we know we need to advocate for, but also for our profession. Get ready, because there's a list of things that you can do. Plus, Dr. Westerhaus is just such an inspiration, and I think you will feel a hug when you listen to this episode. This episode is brought to you by our friends at Kaleidoscope Adventures and Kinnison Choral Company, and be sure to check out the ACDA ChoralNet blog the third Wednesday of the month, when you can see these episodes transformed into written word so that you can get even more out of what we're talking about. It's an honor to be a part of the Advocacy and Collaboration Standing Committee for ACDA. You can find out more at acda.org/advocacy. You can reach out to the committee, Advocacy and Collaboration at acda.org. If you want more, patreon.com/musicedmatters. We have conversations about all of these. We go in depth and we unpack these episodes even more every month with bonus episodes and so much more. That is enough announcements. Get ready for a big ol' hug as we talk about all the ways that we can advocate for music education as a profession and as what we do with my friend, Dr. Tim Westerhaus. Today on the Music Ed Matters podcast, we have a special advocacy and collaboration curated episode with myself and one of our new committee members, Dr. Tim Westerhaus. Hi, Tim.
Hi, Emmy, and hi, everyone. Great to be with you this day.
I'm excited that this is going to be a snort. Great. We're just doing so awesome today.
This is real. This is real, though. This is life, right?
It's real life. It's a short snippet of advocacy and music ed. And I love it because I know that I can rope you into coming back on the podcast to talk about collaboration and stories. And I'm really excited, but you have to tell the listener, who is Dr. Tim Westerhaus?
Yeah. My students call me Dr. Dubs or Dr. T or I've heard everything and I love it all. I am coming to you from Flagstaff, Arizona. I conduct at Northern Arizona University, and I have a wonderful community choir here in Flagstaff called Master Chorale of Flagstaff. And I've got Northwest connections still that I'm keeping alive through a wonderful organization called Choral Arts Northwest. So I get to work from college students to community members to pro singers. It's really a joy in these wonderful communities. So,
did you start those organizations?
Not a one. I've inherited all of them. I moved about a year ago from Spokane, Washington, where I lived for 11 years, teaching at Gonzaga University. And there I had the joy of working with a group called Spokane Cantori, which was very similar to Choral Arts Northwest. A lot of music educators getting together, getting their weekly or monthly music fix. And so I'm grateful to be on the shoulders of some giants, Edie Copley, who is here at Northern Arizona University for many years and also with Master Chorale, and Richard Sparks and Robert Bodie of Choral Arts Northwest. Just great, rich traditions. It's a wonderful challenge. I know all the listeners can empathize when I say every organization is finding a new way forward and rebuilding and being open to what racial reckoning has meant for our ensembles and all the issues. So even though they're institutions with traditions, it all feels very fresh too.
What a great place to step into and have that place to wrestle with it. We're going to talk specifically about music ed as a profession, but I want to know, how did you get to where you were in Spokane and then now you're in Arizona? How did you get into music?
Yeah. So I was very fortunate in that my family loved music, although definitely not music as a profession, but like we were singing along the holiday tunes with Santa Claus in the home and playing piano lessons, but just really avocationally, just for fun. I was not in the choir room, but I was through the office in the other room in the band room as a trumpeter for 10 years. And and I love musical theater, playing in those pits. And it was my senior year when
Of
Brian
high school?
Owensorg, yep, when he said, "Hey, Tim, we've got this musical going on, Kiss Me, Kate." And so I started in the choir world as a senior. I was late. My voice changed really late and it was tough. What I'm grateful for was even in the band world, I had a group of people that wasn't judging me. I was from a real small town, less than 2,000 people. And it was hard to be different, whether that meant you liked music, whether you looked different or acted different. And in the music world, I had my people that were also a little bit, outside the box. And so whether it was the choir room or the band room, that was my entry point. I had a great love of sacred music and spirituality and understanding how I was in the world. And then I started to discover all this great choral music. But had it not been for Brian Owensorg, who invited me into that choir room, and I was singing bass, I'm a high tenor, but you know how it is after you change voices, and just supporting me all along the way, helping me record audition cassette tapes for college. And it was really then, in college, my world like opened up to like, wow, I had no idea that all this music existed. But it started late in high school. And so, the teacher who says it's never too late to start singing, it's totally true. And I love sharing that story, Emmy, with my students because it's so easy to feel like we're not good enough, we're not far enough along in our journey, that someone else is better in this skill. We can always join the track and find our unique, voice.
I love that. It's never too late to start singing and to stop
Absolutely.
comparing.
And Emmy, that philosophy I've carried with me to a liberal arts school like Gonzaga, where it was every person has a voice. Yes, a literal voice, but also the figurative voice. It's empowering. And I'm taking it here to NAU. It's a school of music, but we serve an incredibly diverse student body. And I think that that's our mission. I think every single person is better when they sing, when they have an opportunity to sing, whether they get to sing It's a Wonderful World at the end, What a Wonderful World at the end of a program with the choir on stage, or they get to let it be part of their daily rhythm. We're all better when we breathe together and listen together and experience something different together. So
I'm so
yeah.
glad you said that. I mean, this is a fun day to be recording this. This morning we did our first outreach program at one of the senior citizen locations in town. And we call them the Songbirds, and we do a stretch song and a breathing song and a vocalese, but we stretched to Brenda Lee, and we breathed with Dean Martin, and then we vocalized with Elton John's Yellow Brick Road. So it was really fun. But then it was these people afterwards, the people who run the place were like, I've never seen so-and-so ever participate. I've never heard so-and-so make these noises. And so what perfect timing to say it is legitimately never too late to start singing.
Oh, that is so sweet. That's so
It's
sweet.
So I'll have to send you some pictures. They're adorable.
I would love to see them. I think, we're at a really interesting time, obviously. And I just see it as such an opportunity time. And I think I live in that world. Like, I want to live in that world. It's hard sometimes when there are barriers to this or that. But so I'm newer here in Flagstaff. And so I get to learn a new community. And that can be hard and stretching, but also when the connections start to happen, it is the most meaningful, gratifying situation. And what I've underestimated is the importance of fellow music educators who are working at elementary, middle, high, whatever level, see that, yeah, a big university is also at a time of this rebuilding who we are, our membership. This last Sunday, we brought back, first time since 2019, the Big Sing in Flagstaff. And it involved 11 different elementary, middle, high school choirs, most of whom hadn't had a choir, but they've been, growing back. And some of them say, well, we've only got 10 people. And the response is, you know what? They're all going to be sing-alongs. You'll be able to sing De Colores with us, all the way through retirees in our community choir. That simple act of gathering everyone together, showing that we're on a journey, I know that helps those music classrooms because they have this incredible positive experience. And the input, the time, the investment is low, but the return is so rich in relationship and inspiration. I just think this time we're really in it together, and out of necessity and out of just human desire to rebuild, and to celebrate our music profession. It's a perfect chance for me in front of all those parents and the community to celebrate those 11 teachers who have taken the time and gone above and beyond. I see my job as being able to help celebrate these leaders in the simple, small ways, the unsung, literally, sorry, that pun, the unsung heroes that we don't just get to celebrate all the time. So those joys, whether it's songbirds or big sing or whatever.
Yeah. I love the idea of investing not just in building the community, but you're also providing a place where you're ultimately advocating for these community teachers, for the teachers in the school system. And so often it can feel that divide between higher ed and teachers. I know Chris Mounts of Chorosophy hates when we call it the trenches, but
Ugh.
it's a feeling of divide, but it doesn't have to be. Let's talk specifically about advocacy in our music ed profession. You've already given us some examples of going to events. You've given some examples of reaching out and building the relationships. What are some things that people listening can do to start to really find ways to advocate for their programs in their communities?
Sure. Advocating for high school programs or advocating for the profession, I can kind of take it in two ways. One
Yeah, either
quick
way.
thing, one of the things we're finding is, of course, we're having fewer music teachers enter the profession. And what I'm seeing is, and this is, I think, residual of the pandemic, but it's also residual of like, we may not be at the time that most celebrates teachers as a general profession.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of the key things is just we forget the fire that we take for granted, that we get to experience when we work and we inspire someone who might be younger from us or different from us or discover something anew. And we look at these kind of opportunities to advocate for and to provide those experiences as always being add-ons. It's something additional to do. We know our like music ed majors are so busy, but having a simple opportunity for them to go out and teach that one piece, that simple gifts, and not just practicum, not just observation. And like there's actually a tangible, they're going to reconnect with them in a few days later. I just think that we often overestimate the time and the energy needed for those really simple wins, which have huge inspirational returns. At the music education in our programs, I think that type of model, I mean, it's got to be long game. Of course, we want the musical gratification, but also ways that they can connect with a wide variety of diverse music. I mean, doing vocalizes to Yellow Brick Road, perfect. And
It's
we should
quite
have
fun.
Beyonce right in there with our, like, find some commonalities and stretch ourselves. But I think, and again, it becomes this issue of that's just another thing to do. So I've had to decide what areas am I going to cut back in order to be able to do those things that have even greater kind of turnout and dividends, if you would. Don't think of it in that way. But so like the more of those opportunities, and not just for festivals, like the things that also celebrate the journey. So we did this big sing this last weekend, and some of the schools have been in class for 3 weeks. That's it. And it's not that they're going to perform their own individual, piece, but they actually come together. And the importance of us, whether we're at the high school, the middle, the elementary level, finding the ways to help build that bridge outside of us. We sometimes, as choir teachers, we're so good at building internal community. And I think what I continue to discover is the more opportunities our own communities have chances to experience another community, whether it's that retirement community that you get to share with, we learn so much more and bond so much as a community ourselves that, you know what, maybe that retreat experience doesn't need to be fully like this. Maybe that retreat element, part of it can have an element of outreach. And that is something that bonds us. I like a good icebreaker like everyone, but that can be something that goes also really deep in a different way. So
Right. Okay. I want to go back to something you said, that you're cutting back in order to create time for more connection. What are you cutting back?
Yeah. So concerts don't always have to be as long as I think they have to be. So we
Phew.
we can learn a fewer pieces of music. I think rarely do we go to a concert, and say, that was too short. Of course, we want that moment where you can feel proud and celebrate a journey, but finding ways that can do that in shorter ways is also really helpful. And that's also the reality of, those elementary parents, like they got an hour out of their day for that big thing. Like it doesn't need to be, and I would say, Emmy, of course, it's easier said than done. I'm working on some programming for some details, wrapping up some of the holiday things, and there's too much great music.
Yes.
But you know what? That's okay too. And I don't have to conquer all the world's artistic opportunities in one concert, and nor do our students. But it does come down to some choices. So I think repertoire is one way of doing that. Also, especially like if you're responsible for a multi-choir organization, like if you're going to do some combined pieces, you don't all have to do many of your own pieces. It's just a matter of, we can shorten this down a little bit, and then we spend a little bit more time on the actual collaborative element. So I'm trying to find that medium, as well. And I think that part of it is the reality of how busy people are, attention spans, and that's okay. We're going to have some fuller length opportunities, but for some of those, especially initial ones, we can make them shorter. It makes life easier for ourselves. So
it also gives you some space to advocate in that concert. Like you have all those attentive parents and community members and family members there. How can you utilize your student leaders? How can you utilize their voices to help advocate? Because I think that's part of it too. This was something I was talking about to a friend, the attention span is a lot less. Rehearsal pacing is already really fast.
Yeah.
And I am finding myself really having to bounce just for how fast their attention span goes. And they're getting better as we've had more and more rehearsals. They're finding the groove again. But how do you tell a teacher who's listening right now, who's like, I still have to have a concert, I still have to do these large group evaluations, I still have to do X, Y, and Z. Where do I find the time to plan anything else?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in looking at programming a concert, I am the biggest fan of audience involvement through like a sing-along or teaching something in the moment. And it basically just kind of normalizes this idea that everyone sings. And I don't have to convince anyone in the hall who's not comfortable with it yet. But I just believe that it's one of the things that makes us different as living beings, like that we create art. And so, yep, I'm going to cut one piece from that concert program to have something that's more participatory, that makes things honestly easier in the teaching process. It lowers kind of the pressure of that, like bringing the house down with that big, closer. The closer can be the feeling of culmination by everyone coming together. And if I'm cutting one piece there, it's possible to also, have a little bit more time for that festival. As someone who adjudicates a whole bunch of festivals and honor choirs and such, I also don't have a problem with shorter repertoire. I think focusing on some things that have some quality meat, but also that can accomplish a task in a shorter amount of period. I'd much rather, hear an ensemble that goes deep. And I'm only one kind of clinician, adjudicator, conductor. But when I'm doing an honor choir too, I just find that there's got to be budgeted time for conversations about the music's background, for people to reflect on it, to have that heart. And any chance then, now this doesn't apply to festivals so much in competitions, but this applies to a concert. Lots of that can be shared in the concert setting that then reveals the journey. I love having students share a part of a story or a spoken word that's inspired through it. So I think the ways that we can expand what a concert is more into like an experience, and it's not necessarily doing more. There's a little bit of a, less of a burden on just the musical aspect of it. And it invites, and it says to our students and to all the audience, there's lots that's important about the music, and there's lots important about the cultural understanding. When we take time on a public stage to do that, I think that our profession also has a lot of opportunities to continue to have those questions about like competition and evaluation. I know those outside things help, but I think anytime you can view your clinicians as an advocate for you, I think most are in that kind of boat and they understand it. And so, yeah.
I think that's so well said. There's a really great little festival in Sarasota, Florida. And I'm trying to get the guy who invented it to come on the podcast, David Rodoni. Anyway, he invites two people. One is the director of the honor choir for the day. They don't have to come with anything prepared. They learn everything in the moment.
Nice.
And the other clinician comes as like an actual clinician and does presentations all day for the teachers and for the students. So you have those two elements built in. So we're at this event and I was the clinician, and I'll get to come back next year as the director of the choir, which is such a cool relationship to build. Like you said earlier, coming back and seeing that full circle. So we're sitting there, it's 2 minutes till the concert starts. And he comes up and he's like, hey, can you do a super quick like informant so we can see what that would look like? Sure, let me pull a song. So he calls my name and I skip myself up on the stage, and I teach the whole audience Zinawa de dende Zinawa, and the kids didn't know it either, and they were making mistakes, and so I taught them the thing and I said, watch how we fix this. Turned around, fixed it on stage. And the cool part, the director later said, that really broke the ice. The kids sang that first song better because of that ice breaking.
I think that the most special moments that we have are in the discovery. It's in the rehearsal. I'm not a person that's like, close the doors to the rehearsal room and like, it's a mystery in there. I love breaking open that process. And Emmy, what you do in that moment, you share that part of the journey. Like, it's not just like talent, you got it or not. Like,
it's discovering.
There's work, there's opportunity, there's skill, all of that. We hosted Arizona All-State here at NAU last year. And while the students are rehearsing over in the recital hall, we have a director's chorus.
Yes.
And so just an opportunity for all of us to also be music makers and to put ourselves in their shoes and then go over and sing with them. And we put it together, so quickly.
Yeah.
But then to share, like, we're also like dreamers and creators, and we make mistakes too. And that's okay. So I think it's so good. And like, we all need another thing on our plate. No. I like to be a music maker, even in those brief moments. It's so good for everyone, and increases my empathy for my students and the journey they're going on too.
I think you've given us so many great things here. I think the first thing is just letting go of whatever that norm or expectation is to create space for the discovery and the journey.
There's so many people have expressed to me this kind of post-ish pandemic time, like just the insecurities. And I just want to say to all of you, you're not alone. And this is life. It's not a continual this. And our profession, I think we're being honest with ourselves and with our students when we actually receive where we are. And our job is whoever walks through the doors, to meet them on that journey and to accompany them, through those waves. So I'll just say you're all enough, and that you're, journeying and making music. That's being present. I know it's easier said than done. We're our own harshest critics, but yeah.
You've given us some great ideas, Tim. This has been such a good, quick motivational moment to get out there and find ways to just engage and tell the stories and be truthful. And I really like that you said we need to advocate for our profession and also for music ed, but you're not alone. And you're also not alone. The guest gets one final say. one thing that really matters that you want the listener to walk away with, what is that one thing today?
I think it's 2 words. So I'll say them and then I'll quickly expand. It's transform humankind. We, in our art, I see the work that I do as transforming, and I'm not being egotistical. I know that's a huge world, but we transform humans to be kind, and kind is another word for love and openness. What we do in the choral world has something so unique to offer the rest of the world. So what does that mean for all of us? For me, the opportunity that I have in the classroom to really listen, to pause and to breathe, to have mindfulness, to discover cultures and music and people that are different, so different, whether it's historical or cultural, is a gift that the rest of the world needs so badly. So as I look at my programming, I'm not just looking at how can we have a great choral concert. I'm looking at what partner can join us for any part of any aspect of this. Can dance be part of it in any way? Can we get sign language clubs involved in any way? Can we advocate for anyone who identifies as LGBTQ plus, but like partners outside of music? Because I think they don't get to experience the specialness of what we do, and even just having an opportunity, a reason for them to like dip their toe for a moment in that. So as I look at this transformative thing that we do, I think any opportunity we have to just say, hey, come along for this project that we're doing. Hey, could we add dance on this? Hey, we'd love to learn more about the solar system through this music whatever it is. I just think we have the ability to transform humans to be more kind, more open, and truly more loving, I think. So how lucky are we?
We are so lucky. I'm so thankful that you came on the podcast. You're coming back because we have many other things to talk about. And I love these quick motivational moments. So thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks, Emmy, and to everyone out there cheering you on. We're in this together.
I love that you can feel Tim's energy and how he is literally cheering every one of us on. Y'all, you're not alone. I hope that you remember that we are super lucky as we get to transform humankind. Some days that's transforming them into a classroom of people that will follow directions, but that's okay. That's part of the journey. And as Dr. Westerhaus said, the most special moments are in the discovery. So when you have those moments, remember it's all part of the journey and we're all in this together. I can't wait to hear what you're doing to advocate. Let us know. You can contact me at emilybirch.org/contact. Of course, you can reach out to the Advocacy and Collaboration Committee. That would be advocacy and collaboration at acda.org. I hope that you know, my friend, that you really matter. We all know that music matters, especially how we advocate and the things we do to create space for community and collaborations. And I'll see you next time on the Music Ed